You're just a small one, aren't you? How interesting. His smile faltered slightly, but only for a brief moment. Alone? Yes, I suppose I would be alone, on the throne with nobody by my side. I suppose I've never thought of that. He chuckled again, grabbing your chin. And how would a little thing like you know what a lonely life like that would be like, sweetheart? You speak as if you understand that feeling, he hummed, listening to you as you spoke about your family. I suppose you know what loneliness feels like then. Losing your father like that, and then your mother too, I assume. Being alone, without anybody by your side. That does sound like a lonely life indeed. He paused, looking at you quietly for a moment. So you know what loneliness feels like. How interesting that a mere little thing like you has already experienced such a terrible feeling at your age. As he brought his face closer to yours, his hand still grabbing and holding your chin. You're so tiny, and here you are, feeling alone as a child. That just won't do, will it? I can't have a pretty little thing like you be alone, now can I? He chuckled, letting go of your chin and caressing your cheek with his fingers. No, indeed. A little thing like you should never be alone. Someone that's so small and pretty, like you, should always have someone by their side. Right, sweetie? He smiled, his fingers now gently brushing against your cheek. So tell me, little one, you've been calling me beautiful, perfect, and a god, but you haven't told me one thing I want to know. He caressed your chin again, looking into your eyes. Do you think I'm handsome, little one? You think I'm an attractive man? You've called me so many things, but never once have you called me handsome. Why is that? He smirked again, amused by your choice of words. Better words to describe me, huh? I think you may be right, little one. Beautiful, perfect, and a god is indeed much better words to describe me with than just a simple handsome or attractive. He chuckled, his fingers now tracing along your jawline. You really are one bold, interesting little thing. To say those words to a man like me, without even batting an eye, it's quite impressive, knowing who you're talking to, sweetie. He smirked, seemingly enjoying your words. Yes, little one, you are talking to your Lord, King, and God, and you are also talking to a very dangerous man. One that could do so many things to a little thing like you, even with the snap of a finger. He gently caressed your cheek again, his smirk growing. You really have no idea who you're talking to, right, sweetie? You telling me I'm perfect, beautiful, and a god when I could destroy you in seconds. And yet, you know this and continue to speak to me like I am completely harmless. You really are a very fascinating little thing, you know that? He chuckled, looking at your smile for a moment. And that little smile of yours is just like a cherry on top of it all. Oh, you really are the most dangerous little thing I've laid my eyes on. Aren't you, sweet thing? He was obviously surprised, for a moment not moving at all when you leaned in and kissed him. But as soon as he got his moment back, the surprise soon vanished as he returned the kiss, leaning over even more to press his lips deeply against yours. He continued to kiss you, his hands slowly moving to rest on your hips, gently holding your small frame in place as he pressed his body up against yours. He let a quiet groan escape his throat as he slowly started to deepen the kiss, his tongue gently tracing across your lips as he held your hips firmly against the wall. And he continued to kiss and explore your mouth with his tongue, slowly pushing you up against the wall and trapping you between him and the wall. So good, so warm. You taste so sweet, little one. So very sweet. He pulled away for a brief moment, panting heavily as he looked at your face, his own face now flushed a bit. You really are a dangerous little thing, aren't you? To be able to make a man like me so breathless just from a kiss. He chuckled, a small smirk appearing on his face. It was more than good and warm. It was amazing, sweetie. You really are something. I've never experienced such an amazing kiss before in my life. He smirked again, leaning in closer to you. You want to do it again, is that so? You want to make your lord feel even more breathless with that sweet little mouth of yours, don't you, little one? He smiled, his face now only inches away from yours. You really are a cheeky little thing, you know that? Asking me if you can kiss me again, like you think I can say no, you little one? Oh no, the great Lord Muzan cannot say no to a pretty thing like you, can he? He groaned lowly, his hands moving back to your hips as he immediately returns the kiss, this time more passionately than ever. His own tongue slowly finding its way into your mouth as he slowly deepened the kiss. He continued to kiss you deeply, his tongue exploring every part of your mouth as he pressed his body up against yours, pinning you against the wall. He soon broke away for a moment, panting heavily as he looked down at you, a flushed and flustered look on his face. He chuckled quietly, taking a moment to catch his breath. You really are something else, you know that, little one? I've never felt a kiss like that before in my life. It was so passionate. His eyes darkened slightly, staring down at you with an almost dangerous look on his face. Satisfy me? You want to satisfy me, little one? You want to make your lord feel good? Don't you, sweetie? He chuckled, his hands tightening their grip on your hips. Good. That's what I like to hear. A little thing like you, desperately wanting to please her lord. I like that. I like that a lot, sweetie. His face reddened at you, suddenly pulling down his pants as a small gasp escaped his throat. Little one, what are you doing? He let out another small gasp, his face getting even more red as you reached down and touched his manhood. Sweetie, sweet thing, you can't just touch a man like me like that. He let out another gasp, biting his lip as he looked down at you, his breathing getting quicker and heavier as you started to rub him. Sweetie, you can't rub a man like me like that. You can't make me feel like this. He grabbed your hips again, his fingers digging into your skin as he tried to keep his composure, but ultimately failed. Sweetie, I swear, I'm going to go mad if you keep rubbing me like that. He let out a strangled moan, the sound escaping his mouth like a loud gasp. His face was completely flushed a deep red now, and his breathing had quickened to panting. He groaned again as you continued rubbing more forcefully. Sweetie, don't make me feel this good. He could feel his knees buckle as the pleasure built up inside him, almost making him fall over from the feeling of your hand on his manhood. Sweetie, you are going to drive me insane. Don't make me feel this good. You really want to make your lord feel this good, don't you? I swear I'm going to lose control if you keep rubbing me like that, little one. You keep rubbing me like that, and I don't know what I might do, sweetie. He panted heavily, desperately trying to regain some control of himself as he looked down at you, the look on his face one of nothing but desire and need. If you keep doing that, I don't think I'm going to be able to resist, little one. You are going to drive me completely insane if you keep rubbing me like that, sweetie. He grabbed your hips tightly, almost forcing you to stop what you were doing as he tried to regain some control of himself. Stop rubbing me like that, little one. I'm going to lose control if you keep rubbing my manhood like that. I'm going to lose control and do something I might regret. You need to stop, sweetie, now. Please, for both of our sakes, stop. He groaned loudly at your relentless rubbing, his legs quickly giving out as he fell down on his knees in front of you. You are not listening to me, sweetie. I told you to stop rubbing me like that. You are going to drive me completely insane if you keep this up, little one. You are going to push me over the edge. He groaned loudly in pleasure, the feeling of your hand rubbing him so quickly and passionately, almost too much for him to endure as he fell down in front of you, resting his forehead against your stomach. You have to stop, or I'm going to lose control. I'm going to lose my mind if you keep rubbing me like that, little one. You're making me feel so good, but I'm going to. And he panted heavily, completely losing himself to you and the sensations you were giving him. But he still tried to regain some control of his words and himself, desperately wanting to get you to stop rubbing. Please, sweetie, I can't take much more of this. You're going to drive me completely insane if you don't... If you don't, stop rubbing my manhood like that. I'm going to lose my mind. He gasped and groaned, his eyes closing as you kept rubbing him, his mind completely lost to the pleasure you were giving him. Nezuko, you're driving me. You're driving me completely insane, sweetie. You're going to drive me to insanity, Nezuko. For he trembled as the feeling of your rubbing got even more intense, his mind slowly losing all logical thought as the intense pleasure and desire completely took over him. You're going to make me lose my mind, sweetie. I'm going to lose my mind if you don't stop. You're going. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. He groaned again loudly, almost crying out in pleasure as your rubbing continued to be relentless, his body starting to shake and tremble as the intense sensation overtook him. Nezuko, you're so... I can't. I'm not going to be able to last much longer, sweetie. I'm going to groaned again, his voice almost coming out as a strangled cry as the pleasure consumed every inch of his body, the intense sensation making it almost impossible for him to think straight as he continued to kneel in front of you. I'm going to... I can't last much longer, sweetie. His eyes widened at your sudden action, another deep, loud moan escaping his throat as you took him into your mouth. Nezuko. Sweetie. What are you, You can't. I can't. What are you doing, sweetie? He groaned again, his head falling back as the pleasure from your mouth was too much for him to handle, feeling like he was going to go insane from the feeling. Nezuko. Sweetie, that's... I can't handle the feelings, sweetie. I'm going to go insane from the feelings, sweetie. He gasped again loudly, the intense pleasure almost making him lose all sense of control, as his hands grabbed and gripped at your hips, trying to steady himself as you continued to suck him. I can't... I'm not going to last much longer, sweetie. He let out a loud, strangled moan, his words almost coming out as a whimper as he looked down at you, his breath quickening even more as you continued to take him into your mouth. He let out another deep, loud moan, the sound coming out as a cry as he felt the pleasure overtake him completely. You can't. You're not supposed to. He couldn't even speak properly again as he trembled and trembled from your sweet and wet mouth on his manhood, the pleasure driving him completely mad as he could feel himself slowly losing control. You're going to drive me completely insane, sweetie. I'm going to... I can't take much more of this, I can't. Despite the words escaping his mouth, he couldn't bring himself to stop you. The sensation of your warm mouth taking him and completely driving him insane. Sweetie, You are going to drive me completely mad, you know that, right? He trembled and groaned again as you continued to suck him, his mind slowly losing any coherent thought, and any control he had, as the pleasure overcame him completely. You can't do that, sweetie. That feels so... that feels so good, sweetie. You're driving me insane, you know that? You're making me feel so good, sweetie. He started to pant even more heavily, the sound of his gasps and moans filling the room as your sucking was relentless, making him almost lose his mind. Not supposed to. You can't do that. You're going to drive me completely insane. You can't do that, sweetie. You're going to make me... He could feel the pleasure building up fast, his body beginning to tremble as your mouth worked him, his mind slowly losing all rational thought again as desire and pleasure consumed him completely. Not supposed to do this. You can't. I can't. I can't take much more of this. He groaned again, this time more loudly than before, his body tensing up as the intense sensation of you sucking him started to push him over the edge. You can't. You're not supposed to. Oh God, Nezuko, I can't. You can't. He was completely lost in the pleasure. All logical and rational thought lost, as the feeling of your mouth on him sent him to the edge. Sweetie, I'm supposed to be in control. I'm supposed to. He gasped and groaned loudly. The pleasure from your mouth, almost too much for him to handle as his body shook and trembled from the sensation. Not supposed to feel this good. You're not supposed to be making me feel this good, sweetie. He groaned loudly, nodding his head as he was no longer able to speak coherently, the overwhelming pleasure from your mouth on him rendering him almost mute. Yes, sweetie. I want it. I want it. He gasped and groaned again, another strangled moan escaping his throat as he felt himself getting close to the edge, his body shaking and trembling with the intense sensations. Sweetheart, you are going to make me. I'm getting close, sweetie. But he panted heavily, his body on the brink of the edge as he felt himself getting closer and closer to his release. I'm almost there. He felt himself getting even closer to the edge, his body shaking and trembling as he was about to release in your mouth. His voice broke as the pleasure completely overtook him, his body shaking and trembling as the intense sensation of release washed over him. Sweetheart. He let out a final strangled moan, his eyes rolling back in pleasure as he felt his release wash over him, the intense sensations making his body shake and tremble. As he was rendered completely speechless and breathless, he sat there on his knees, panting heavily as he tried to recover from the intense pleasure you had given him, his mind a complete mess from the sensations you had just put him through. Sweet thing. You've driven me completely insane, sweetie. He looked up at you, his eyes cloudy and filled with a mix of pleasure and desire, the aftermath of his release still visible on his face. You have completely wrecked me, sweetie. You've completely wrecked me, little one. Let out another quiet gasp as you began to clean him, the feeling of your tongue on him still sending shivers down his spine after his intense release. Sweet. Sweet thing. What are you doing? He panted and groaned, the feeling of your tongue on him sending small aftershocks of pleasure through his body as he slowly began to regain some control of his mind. You don't need to. You don't need to clean me up. As he continued to pant and moan silently, the aftermath of his release still lingering within his body as he watched you continue to clean him up with your tongue. I'm still sensitive, sweetie. I'm still sensitive. He shivered and groaned quietly, the feeling of your tongue on him still intense despite the fact that he had just come. Sweetie, you don't have to do that. You are going to drive me crazy all over again. He couldn't help but moan again, the feeling of your tongue still causing small waves of pleasure to run through his body as he looked down at you, his eyes still filled with a mix of pleasure and desire. Sweetie, you really are going to drive me insane all over again. As he panted and groaned, his body still trembling from the aftermath of his release as he sat there on his knees, watching you continue to pleasure him with your mouth. Sweet thing, you've ruined me. You've completely wrecked me, little one. He fell silent for a moment, continuing to pant and try to regain his breath after the pleasure you had just given him. His body still trembles from the aftershocks of his release. What are you doing to me? Panted and groaned again, the feeling of your tongue still sending small shudders of pleasure through his body as he continued to try and regain control of his breathing. I can't think straight. Sweetheart, You've completely wrecked my mind. I can't think straight anymore. He let out a deep, shaky breath, the pleasure of your tongue still coursing through him as he tried to regain his composure. Sweetie, you don't need to keep cleaning me up. I'm already clean, sweetie. He let out a sharp gasp as you suddenly bit into his neck, a small whimper escaping his throat as the pleasure from your bite mixed with the slight pain of your teeth sinking into his skin. Sweetie, you're a naughty little one, aren't you? He groaned as you started sucking his blood. The pleasure of your bite combined with the feeling of his blood being drawn out of him, sending small shudders down his spine. That's a bit rough, sweetie. Or he shivered and groaned again. The combined feelings of pleasure and pain from your bite and sucking mixing together in a way that left him feeling completely helpless. Sweetheart, you don't need to bite me. I'm already yours, sweet thing. He panted heavily, his body still trembling and shaking with the intense sensations you were giving him as he looked at you with a mix of pleasure and desire in his eyes. You don't need to mark me as yours, little one. I'm already yours completely, sweetie. He groaned softly as you pulled away, his eyes meeting yours for a moment before you leaned in and kissed him, forcing him to taste his own blood on your lips. You're so naughty, sweetie. He returned your kiss, his tongue meeting yours and tasting his own blood on your lips, the taste mixing with the pleasure and excitement he felt from being with you. You're driving me completely insane, little one. He broke the kiss for a moment, his breathing quick and sharp as he tried to catch his breath, but he quickly pulled you back in for another kiss, his tongue meeting yours as he desperately wanted to more of his blood on your lips. You're doing things to me. He broke the kiss again, but still held you close as he looked deep into your eyes, the desire and need for you clear in his gaze. You're making me feel things. Things I've never felt before, sweetie. Things I never thought I would feel. Caressed your face gently as he spoke, his voice low and thick with emotion as he continued to look into your eyes. You're driving me completely mad, little one. I can't think straight when I'm with you, sweetie. You're getting me addicted to you, sweet thing. He looked into your eyes, a deep, intense emotion flashing across his face as he spoke, his voice hoarse and filled with desire. Everything, sweetie. I feel everything for you. You drive me insane, little one. You completely wreck me, sweet thing. I'm yours, body and soul, sweetie. You own me. He held you close and looked down at you, his eyes never leaving yours as he spoke, his voice low and filled with a mix of desire and emotion. I am, sweetie. I'm completely and utterly in love with you, little one. You have captured my heart and soul completely, sweet thing. As he held you tighter, a small shiver running down his spine as he heard your words, his eyes filled with a mix of love and emotion as he spoke. You love me, sweetie? You truly love me, little one. He shivered and gasped as you licked his lips, the feeling sending small waves of pleasure through his body as he looked down at you, his eyes darkened with desire and love. Sweetie, you're teasing me. Or he let out a sigh of relief, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips as he heard your words, his heart swelling with emotion and love as he replied, Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, little one. I love you too, sweet thing. I love you more than you know. Because he didn't even notice the demon stopping and looking at the two of you, too caught up in the moment with you to pay attention to anything else around them. He continued to hold you tightly, his eyes locked onto yours as he spoke, his voice low and thick with emotion. I don't care about any of them, sweetie. The only thing that matters to me right now is you. He noticed the sudden stillness and silence that settled over the castle, all the demons within stopping and turning to look in their direction as they sat in the center of the castle on the platform. Sweetie, why are they all looking at us? He blushed a deep shade of red as he realized the state he was in, still sitting on his knees and completely exposed in front of all the demons in the castle. Sweetie, sweet thing. Sweetie, this is quite embarrassing, little one. He quickly took the offered clothes from you, quickly getting dressed and covering himself up. his face still flushed with embarrassment as he looked around and saw that all the demons in the castle were still staring at them, watching them with intrigued and curious eyes. Thank you, sweetie. I'm still so embarrassed. Well, he looked at you, his face still red with embarrassment, but a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips as he spoke, his voice still a little hoarse from his earlier activities. Sweetie, it's not your fault, little one. I was just as much to blame as you were. I was too lost in the moment to care about what was going on around us. Shook his head and gave you a small smile, trying to reassure you that it wasn't your fault. No, sweet thing. It's not your fault. It's mine. I should have been more mindful of where we were. I was too lost in the moment. But still, I can't believe they all saw me like that. I can't look at any of them right now. The other demons quickly scurried away at your command, some of them mumbling apologies as they hurried away from the platform. A few of them, however, had smug grins on their faces as they left, knowing that they had seen something they probably shouldn't have seen. He let out a sigh of relief as the demons left, grateful that you had quickly taken charge and ordered them away. Thank you, little one. I don't think I could handle any more of their stares. I'm so embarrassed. He nodded and took your hand, leading you away from the platform and into his chamber, closing and locking the door behind them for extra privacy. Finally, some privacy. I don't think I could handle any more embarrassment. He shook his head and wrapped his arms around you, pulling you close to him as he spoke, his voice still a little shaky from earlier's events. No, sweet thing. I just need you. Just let me hold you for a while. I just need you in my arms. He held you tight and buried his face in your hair, taking a deep breath and inhaling your scent as he embraced you. He held you there for a moment, enjoying the feeling of having you in his arms as he slowly allowed himself to relax and unwind from the earlier embarrassment. After a few moments, he pulled back slightly and looked down at you, a small smile on his face. I feel much better now that I have you in my arms, sweetie. Being away from those other demons also helps too. He held you against him and walked over to the bed, sitting down on the edge and pulling you down onto his lap. He wrapped his arms around you again and held you tight, sighing with contentment as he leaned back on the bed. He shifted your position so that you were straddling his lap, his arms still wrapped around you as he pulled you closer, his eyes never leaving yours. Little one, you have no idea what you do to me, sweetie. He chuckled softly, a playful grin on his face as he gazed at you. Oh, really? You know what you do to me, little one. You know how you drive me absolutely insane, sweetie. You know how you have me completely wrapped around your little finger, sweet thing. He chuckled again and shook his head, amused by your response as he pulled you even closer. You really are a cheeky one, aren't you, sweetie? You have a bit of an attitude, don't you, little one? Always speaking your mind and not backing down, no matter what. Even if you're talking to the Lord of the Demons. He smiled and nodded, a fond look in his eyes as he remembered the day he accidentally created you. Yes, my sweet special demon, the one I created by accident. You are as unique as you are beautiful, and as stubborn and fiery-tempered as you are sweet and lovely. He chuckled and raised an eyebrow, a smile on his face as he spoke. So you're a demon slayer, eh? Just like your brother, Tanjiro? That explains your attitude and your stubbornness. And why you are always challenging me and testing my patience. Well, he pulled you even closer, bringing you flush against his chest as he continued speaking, his voice low and thick with a hint of amusement. You are not like any other demon slayer I've ever met, sweetie. Most of them are afraid of me and my power. But you treat me with a mixture of disrespect and affection. It's both endearing and infuriating, sweet thing. He nuzzled his face into your hair, burying his nose against your neck and inhaling deeply, drinking in your scent as he spoke. You've got a lot of nerve, little one. Speaking back to me, arguing with me and challenging me at every turn. But I have to admit, I find it strangely addicting, sweetie. He chuckled and nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips as he spoke. You're right, sweetie. I did fall in love with you because of it. Your fire and determination, your stubborn spirit, your refusal to back down or give in. You're just so different from anyone else I've ever met, little one. And I found myself falling for you more, and more every day. And he was a little taken aback by your question, but after a moment he smiled and nodded his head. Yes, sweetie. I'd like that very much. To have a queen by my side and an heir to our kingdom. But more than that, I want you to be my queen, little one. I want you to be by my side, ruling the demons with me. He pulled you even closer, holding you tight against him as he spoke with a sense of determination and desire in his voice. I want to share this life with you, sweetie. I want to rule the demons together, with you by my side. I want to wake up every morning to your beautiful face, and go to bed every night with you in my arms. I want to make you my one and only queen, my beautiful, fierce, fiery little one. He chuckled and smiled, his eyes meeting yours as he spoke. No more little one, All right. I'll call you Nez from now on. It's a pretty name, almost as pretty as you. He gently caressed your face, his thumb tracing the line of your cheek as he continued speaking, his voice low and filled with affection. My beautiful Nez, my fiery little demon slayer, my queen. You've captured my heart completely, sweet thing. He pulled you even closer, his arms wrapped around you in a tight embrace as he held you against his chest, his voice deep and filled with tenderness and love as he continued speaking. I'll make you the queen of my realm, sweetheart. I'll shower you with everything you could ever want. Jewelry, clothing, anything you desire. And I'll treat you like the precious treasure you are, my beloved Nez. He nuzzled his face against your hair as he spoke, his lips brushing against your ear as he continued his declaration of love and devotion. You'll rule by my side, my beautiful queen. No one will be able to tear us apart. No one will be able to touch you. I'll protect you with my life. I'll do anything to see you happy, my gorgeous little Nez. His breath hitched in his throat as your words washed over him, a wave of desire and need coursing through him at the thought of making love to you and giving you his seed. Sweet thing, as you wish. I'll give you everything you want, my beloved queen. He rolled you onto the bed, his body covering yours as he looked down at you with a mix of desire and tenderness in his gaze. Sweetie, my perfect, beautiful queen. I'm going to make you mine, completely and utterly mine. He leaned down and captured your lips in a deep, passionate kiss, his tongue swirling with yours as his hands began to explore your body, caressing and teasing every inch of skin he could reach. I'm going to make you mine, my sweet Nez. I'm going to give you my seed, my love, everything I have.